Welcome to Pod Key NBA, where today it's LeBron, cap pain, and a lot of complicated futures. The league somehow feels both glamorous and stressed out right now. You've got LeBron chasing one more ring in Philly, contenders getting squeezed by the tax apron, and a few franchises looking like they're one bad decision away from a very long season. The biggest story is LeBron landing with the 76ers before August, teaming up with Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, and Jaylen Brown, in a move that's being framed around one thing more than anything else: ring number 5. There's also a very modern superstar angle here, because Philly sold flexibility and infrastructure, with executives like Bob Myers reportedly helping make this feel like a place where LeBron can still control the final chapter. And yes, the commute thing is real. He's expected to live in New York and play in Philly, which immediately turned into helicopter math, traffic math, and everyone pretending they've suddenly become experts in Northeast travel logistics. At 42, the real basketball part is load management. The Sixers clearly want him healthy in spring, not heroic on a random Tuesday in January. On the floor, the cleanest version of this is LeBron shifting further into the playmaking hub role. Less full-time scorer, more organizer, especially in the mid-range, in transition, and in actions that free up cutters. Maxey could really benefit there because he's already dangerous without the ball. And LeBron is still one of the best ever at rewarding movement before the defense can settle. The problem is the Sixers have a lot of guys who are used to touches. One breakdown: put the previous combined usage of the star group at around 142%, which is a funny number only because it's also a warning sign. Nick Nurse has to define jobs quickly, stagger stars, and make sure the role players actually matter. They also need a backup center they can trust, because every Embiid discussion eventually comes back to the same thing: availability. That's why some people brought up the 2003 Lakers as a cautionary comparison. Big names raise the ceiling, but they also make the chemistry and injury management more delicate than it looks on paper. There's already the larger LeBron question hovering over all of this, which is how long he wants to keep going. Rich Paul has floated that LeBron could still have 4 or more seasons left, while others point out that when you're this deep into your 40s in basketball years, one injury can flip the whole conversation overnight. What feels unmistakable is how tightly managed the public story is. He used Topps as the announcement platform, and there's already expectation that an ESPN-linked documentary lands a few months after retirement. He's still playing, but he's also curating the museum exhibit in real time. One of the stranger long-running stories is the cap circumvention investigation tied to Kawhi Leonard, and the timeline sounds glacial. Because of arbitrations and appeals under the CBA, this could drag into 2026 or 2027, maybe longer, which means any trade clarity could stay stuck for a while. Toronto keeps coming up as the one realistic destination if something ever does move, and the reporting around related party investments and league indemnification requests tells you this isn't some minor paperwork issue. If there's one league-wide theme underneath half these stories, it's the CBA and the tax system squeezing teams from every direction. Denver is the cleanest example. Matching Spencer Jones on that OKC offer sheet helped them keep a useful young piece, but it also exploded the luxury tax bill, with estimates jumping from the mid-30 millions towards something closer to 68 million. That's the second apron reality. A salary that looks manageable in isolation can turn into a massive marginal cost once you're stacked up against all the penalties. So now the Nuggets are in the spot. A lot of post-title teams hit. Do you move heavier veteran money? Do you keep the younger, cheaper talent and eat the tax? Or do you start trimming the edges and risk shrinking the contender window? Restricted free agency has the same tension baked into it. Teams want continuity, but short deals for good young players can still come with a tax receipt that makes ownership flinch. The Warriors are in their own version of that bind. Draymond Green coming back on a one-year $27.7 million deal preserves short-term flexibility, but it also kind of admits the longer-term build around Steph Curry is unresolved. Curry is extension eligible soon, and once you start talking about a number around $65 million, the questions get sharper. How do you keep paying aging stars premium money while the young pipeline hasn't really delivered? That's where the old misses sting more. Passing on a Jaylen Brown swing, drafts that didn't turn into impact players, and the general lack of a clean succession plan have left Golden State trying to honor the dynasty and survive the bill at the same time. The Curry trade hypotheticals are interesting mostly because they show how much value he still has, but also how hard it is to move a franchise icon when the cultural meaning is bigger than the cap sheet. San Antonio feels a lot sunnier. The Spurs got Victor Wembanyama on a team-friendly long-term extension, which gives them room to add veterans like Tobias Harris and still think about keeping their young core together. There are real health concerns with front-court depth after ACL tears for Terrence Reed Jr. and Jaden Quaintance, but the bigger picture is obvious. If Wembanyama is healthy, this team is operating like a real title window group. Houston is tougher to read. Fred VanVleet, Marcus Smart, and Bogdan Bogdanovic add toughness and experience, but the concern is whether they actually solve the half-court scoring and spacing issues that show up in serious playoff basketball. And with VanVleet's knee and Steven Adams' ankle both drawing attention, the Rockets may be asking for bounce-back health and clean schematic fit at the same time. The Knicks went the other direction and chose financial flexibility, letting Mitchell Robinson walk to stay clear of the second apron. That saves money and options, but it also removes a true rim protector, which could matter a lot in the wrong matchup. The Ja Morant to Portland move got hammered as the worst trade of the summer, mostly because people don't really see the basketball logic. It invites role overlap, ego questions, and roster fit problems before you even get to the larger instability around the franchise. Tom Dundon's ownership orbit has already produced rumors about staff churn, broadcast cuts, arena issues, and even relocation anxiety, which is not exactly the atmosphere you want when trying to integrate a huge talent. New Orleans had its own uglier front office moment by reportedly mis-signing DeAndre Jordan to a fully guaranteed 2-year, $8 million deal when they thought they were doing a 1-year minimum. That's the kind of error that sounds impossible right up until it costs you real flexibility. Step back, and a lot of this comes down to the same structural pressure points. The tax system is harsher, the second apron is changing behavior, and teams are constantly balancing title ambition against long-term financial pain. That's happening while franchises are increasingly treated like asset classes, local RSNs are wobbling, and even beloved announcers are getting cut, which chips away at the connection between teams and the people who follow them every night. There was also some way too early award chatter, with Luka in MVP conversations again. A wildly speculative LeBron MVP case if Philly wins big, and defensive dark horse talk for Amen Thompson or Scotty Barnes depending on role and team success. And because it's LeBron season, the trivia machine keeps going too. He's assisted Anthony Davis 727 times, and roughly 10% of NBA players since 2003 have been his teammate at one point or another, which is absurd, in a way only LeBron statistics can be. That's the roundup for today. Podkey NBA will be back soon with more, assuming the second apron doesn't tax us for using too many words. This episode was generated by Podkey. Create your own at podkey.fm.